Let's get right into it. Number 10. The crows know your face and they hold a grudge. Remember when you were a kid and thought that one crow was following you? Turns out your paranoid little brain might have been onto something. Scientists have proven that crows not only recognize human faces, but they hold grudges that would make your ex look forgiving. These birds aren't just smart, they're scary smart. In one famous study, researchers at the University of Washington wore specific masks while they captured and banded crows for tracking. Big mistake. The crows didn't just remember the individual researchers, they remembered the masks. They would dive bomb and scold anyone wearing the dangerous mask, even years later, while completely ignoring the same researchers when they were unmasked or wearing a different mask. But here's where it gets really chilling. They taught this hatred to other crows that were never captured and had never even seen the masked researchers before, started joining in on the attacks. They learned from their friends and family which humans were a threat. It's like they have their own little crow crime database where they share mugshots of people to avoid. And we're not talking about short-term memory. These birds can remember a face for at least 5 years. That's longer than some people remember their Netflix password. They also pass this knowledge down to their children. So if you ever wronged a crow, its kids and grandkids might be out there right now plotting their revenge. Number 9. The dream where you fall forever is your brain rebooting. You know that feeling. You're just about to fall asleep, warm and comfortable in your bed, and suddenly your whole body jerks, your heart pounds, and you feel like you've just fallen off a cliff. For a split second, the fear is completely real. Well, your brain isn't just being dramatic, it's actually having a mini panic attack. Scientists call this a hypnic jerk, or sleep start, and it's your brain literally glitching out as it tries to switch from awake mode to sleep mode. As you drift off, your heart rate slows, your breathing changes, and your muscles start to relax. But your primitive brain, the part that's still worried about falling out of trees like our ancient ancestors, sometimes misinterprets this sudden muscle relaxation as you actually falling. So it hits the panic button. Your brain floods your body with a jolt of chemicals and orders your muscles to tense up, jolting you awake to save you from the non-existent fall. It's basically your brain's ancient survival software running an emergency diagnostic on an old piece of hardware. This happens to about 70% of people. The weirdest part is that your brain is so good at creating narratives that it often generates a quick dream or image of falling just to explain the sudden sensation. So that childhood fear of falling from your bed and never waking up, it's just your brain accidentally hitting the emergency eject button. Number 8. The house is alive and it's making you sick. Remember when you were a kid and swore that creepy old house down the street was alive? Or that the dark basement had a malevolent presence? Well, turns out you weren't entirely wrong. That musty smell wasn't just old socks. It may have been the house itself, literally coming alive and getting ready to mess with your mind. Scientists have found that certain types of toxic mold, like Stachybotrys cartarum, can release something called mycotoxins. These are invisible spores that drift silently through the air, growing inside your walls, under your carpet, and in damp, forgotten corners. You breathe them in without ever knowing it. Allergies and asthma are a problem, sure, but that's not the scary part. These microscopic invaders can actually cross the blood-brain barrier and cause serious neurological problems. We're talking confusion, memory loss, anxiety, and even vivid hallucinations. Your childhood home might have actually been haunted by fungus. There are documented cases, like a family in Texas who thought they were going insane when they all started seeing shadow people in their house. They brought in paranormal investigators, but the real culprit was discovered later. Their walls were completely infested with toxic black mold. The spores were literally making them see things that weren't there. Your walls could be full of this stuff right now, slowly turning your home into its own living, breathing organism. And unlike the monster under your bed, this one's actually real. Number 7. Your brain knows clowns are wrong. That deeply unsettling, creepy feeling you get when you see a clown? That's not just you being dramatic. It's your brain's ancient, hardwired threat detector screaming at you that something is fundamentally wrong. Scientists have confirmed that our brains are built to read and interpret faces. It's a survival mechanism we've been perfecting for millions of years. We scan for tiny muscle movements to gauge intent. Is this person a friend or a foe? But clowns break the entire system. They have huge, painted-on smiles that never change, regardless of their actual emotion or intent. Their eyes could be full of rage, but the smile remains. Your brain throws up a massive error message. Data does not compute. The person's expression is permanently fixed, making them completely unpredictable. This falls into what scientists call the uncanny valley. It's the feeling of revulsion we get from something that looks almost human, but not quite. The exaggerated features, the artificial colors, the fact that you can't see their real face, it all triggers our brain's stranger danger alarm. Your brain literally can't predict what a clown might do next, and when your brain can't predict someone's next move, it defaults to assuming the worst. It's a self-preservation instinct. So the next time someone tells you to stop being afraid of clowns, you can calmly inform them that your fear is a scientifically justified, evolutionary response to a potential threat hiding behind a mask of joy. Number 6. The real-life Kraken keeps trophies of its battles. Those old sailors' tales about giant sea monsters, the Kraken dragging ships to their doom, weren't just a result of too much rum. Hiding in the crushing blackness of the deep ocean is a creature that proves those legends were based on a terrifying reality, the giant squid. For the longest time, science considered them myth, but then they started finding clues. Sperm whales, the undisputed heavyweight champions of the deep, would surface covered in massive circular scars. These weren't battle scars from other whales. They were the size of dinner plates, and they could only have come from one thing. Scientists analyzing these scars, and the few specimens that washed ashore, confirmed the existence of a creature that can grow up to 43 feet long, the length of a school bus. They have the largest eyes in the animal kingdom, each one about 10 inches across, purpose-built for seeing in the pitch-black abyss. And those suction cups that leave the scars, they aren't soft and rubbery. Each one is ringed with sharp, jagged, tooth-like hooks made of chitin. Their tentacles aren't for grabbing, they're for shredding. They turn what should be an embrace into an attack with underwater chainsaws. These marks on the sperm whales are trophies of titanic battles fought miles below the surface. The whale dives, hunting the squid. The squid fights back, latching on, tearing at the whale's flesh, leaving a permanent record of its terrifying power before it's eventually eaten. We may have never seen the battle, but the scars prove the monster is real. Number 5. The walls of water that crush you. Remember that weird childhood fear of playing in a narrow alley or a dry creek bed and suddenly imagining a giant wall of water coming to get you? Your overactive imagination was actually tapping into a very real and deadly survival instinct. They're called flash floods, and they're one of nature's most terrifyingly deceptive killers. They can happen on a perfectly sunny day. You could be hiking in a beautiful canyon, not a cloud in sight. Then, you hear a low rumble that sounds like a freight train. Within a minute, it's on you. A wall of water, mud, and debris, moving faster than you can run. Scientists have clocked these water walls at speeds of up to 30 feet per second. That's like being chased by a very angry, very wet Usain Bolt. The water doesn't just flow. It's a slurry of everything it has picked up along the way. Trees, boulders, cars, all of it turned into a deadly smoothie rushing towards you at highway speeds. In places like Arizona's Antelope Canyon, a popular tourist spot, flash floods have left debris stuck in the canyon walls 50 feet high. And here's the truly terrifying part. A storm more than 10 miles away can send its water rushing down into your perfectly sunny canyon. It's like being punched by someone in another zip code. So next time you're in a narrow space and get that weird feeling about a wall of water, maybe listen to your inner scared kid. That wasn't just imagination. It was an echo of a real danger. Number 4. The storm that throws you into the sky. Your parents always told you to come inside during a thunderstorm. Turns out they weren't just being paranoid. They were trying to stop you from being launched into the stratosphere. We're not talking about your average rainy day. We're talking about supercell thunderstorms. These aren't just clouds. They are rotating, atmospheric monsters. Inside these beasts are updrafts that can scream upwards at over 100 miles per hour. That's stronger than most hurricane-force winds, except these are going straight up. These updrafts are so powerful, they can hold softball-sized chunks of ice suspended in the air. The average human only needs about 67 miles per hour of upward wind to be lifted off the ground and become an unwilling passenger on nature's most violent elevator. Think it can't happen? In 2007, a German parachutist named Ewa Wisniewska was training in Australia when she got sucked into a supercell's updraft. She was pulled up to an altitude of nearly 32,000 feet. That's higher than Mount Everest, in the same airspace as commercial jets. The temperature plummeted to minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit. She lost consciousness, her body covered in ice, and was carried around inside the storm for over an hour. Miraculously, she survived. She landed over 35 miles from where she took off. So yes, that childhood fear of a storm just picking you up and carrying you away, it's not a fear, it's a possibility. Number 3. The Human Botfly. Remember when you were a kid and convinced that bugs were not just annoying, but were actively plotting against you, that they had secret, nefarious plans? For one insect, that paranoia is completely justified. Meet the human botfly. The human botfly has devised a method of reproduction so twisted it belongs in a horror movie. The female botfly doesn't lay its eggs on you directly. That would be too simple. Instead, it engages in what can only be described as biological warfare. It captures a mosquito mid-flight, like a tiny aerial hijacker. It then glues its own eggs to the mosquito's belly and releases it, unharmed. The mosquito, now an unwitting delivery drone, goes about its business. When it lands on you to take a blood meal, your body heat triggers the botfly eggs to hatch instantly. As the mosquito bites you, the tiny botfly larvae drop off and burrow into your skin, often using the mosquito bite or a hair follicle as an entry point. And that's when the real horror begins. The larva sets up shop under your skin, creating a little breathing hole to the surface. For the next 8 weeks, it lives there, feeding on your tissue, growing bigger and bigger. People who have been infested report that they can feel it moving and squirming, especially at night or in the shower. It is, quite literally, a monster living inside you. Number 2, the plant that makes you wish you were dead. In the rainforests of Australia, because of course it's Australia, grows a plant called the gimpy gimpy. It looks innocent enough, with big, heart-shaped leaves covered in what looks like soft, fuzzy fur. Touching that fur is a mistake you will regret for the rest of your life. Those hairs are actually tiny, hollow needles filled with one of the most potent and long-lasting pain toxins known to science. When you brush against a leaf, the needles break off in your skin, continuously injecting venom. The pain is described as being like getting burned with hot acid and electrocuted at the same time, and it doesn't stop. The initial agony can last for hours or days, but the pain can flare up again for months, or even years, whenever the affected skin is touched or exposed to cold air or water. There are stories of soldiers who accidentally used the leaves as toilet paper, and of horses that, after brushing against it, threw themselves off cliffs in agony. The toxin is so stable that scientists have been stung by museum specimens that were over 100 years old. One of the only recommended treatments for severe stings involves applying diluted hydrochloric acid to the skin to try and dissolve the microscopic silica hairs. You know something is bad when pouring acid on yourself is considered a potential solution. Number 1. Your brain's built-in stalker detector. You know that primal, skin-crawling feeling you'd get as a kid that someone was watching you? Even when you were alone in a room, you'd just know. You'd turn around, and nothing would be there. You thought you were just being paranoid. You weren't. Scientists have discovered that humans have a specialized neural system dedicated to one thing: detecting when someone's eyes are pointed at us. It's an ancient and powerful security system, a gaze detector that's always running in the background of your subconscious. This system is so sensitive, it can pick up on someone's stare even when they are in your peripheral vision, and you aren't consciously looking at them. Think of that time you were in a crowded room and just felt a stare, turning to lock eyes with the person looking at you. That wasn't a coincidence. That was your brain's stalker detector in action. This system is hardwired into the amygdala, the most primitive part of your brain, the same part that controls your fight or flight response. Researchers using brain scanners found that when a person is shown a face looking directly at them, their amygdala lights up like a Christmas tree. But when the same face is shown looking slightly away, the amygdala is silent. This system is so vital for survival that it develops before we can even walk. Babies as young as 4 months old show a clear response to being watched. So that feeling you have right now, like unseen eyes are on you, don't just dismiss it. It's your brain's ancient alarm bell, honed over millions of years of avoiding predators, telling you to pay attention. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.